This is our last question. Why don't we get this one up? And then we'll come, because I think you're touching on this topic exactly, in terms of investing in the workforce, making a career, if we can tie those two together. So I'll just give you a brief lead into this. You know, Canada, along with the rest of the world, is slowly emerging from the Great Recession. Many sectors have been impacted by massive job losses. Also, while Canada is a desired destination for new skilled immigrants, attracting between 240,000 and 265,000 immigrants in 2010, of which 118,000 settled in Ontario, many do not find appropriate employment in their field once they arrive in Canada, hence depriving the economy of between $3 to $4 billion nationally, and $1 to $2 billion in Ontario, respectively. So the question is around how to plan on investing, developing Canada's skilled workforce, and I think we have the topic about government-specific, about how does one foster a career. I think we're over to you, Jean-Luc, and if you wanted to kind of reply to the question and lead into your reply, and then we'll finish up with Ray.
Okay, I'll try and measure my response as best I can, because I think those are three really big areas that could almost have a panel onto themselves. I know several professional engineers that are in the federal civil service, and they went there for job security and higher pay and better benefits and a pension. So in terms of financial remuneration, I compared to what's in the private sector for people in my generation anyway, the public service is very lucrative in that respect. What isn't lucrative for them is potentially the work environment. The public service has a tendency to bring all kinds of people in, but the only people that seem to leave are those that retire, those that run out screaming and they can't take it anymore, or sadly those who pass away before their retirement. Very few people will leave that organization because they are fired. In any private industry, having the ability to remove people who are not performing to their ability is a necessary mechanism. Now, I'm not advocating that the civil service let people go as easily as perhaps a startup does, but a 1 or 2 year timeline and an effort within the civil service to let people go will tend to accumulate people who are not necessarily as driven as they should be. And this, I'm just saying this from the feedback I've heard of the people who work within the civil service. They are constantly frustrated that they are carrying far more of the burden of the work that needs to be done than perhaps their other colleagues. And in a private sector, someone who inflicts that on a coworker is rooted out very, very quickly. I would like to see it rooted out moderately slowly instead of glacially slowly as it is right now. Now, as far as encouraging people to go into the engineering workforce, the engineering discipline as a whole, we definitely need to have engineering heroes again. I think that's an important focus. And right now, people sort of see engineers as these people who sit in dark places with pocket protectors, and again, a very modest promotion program can encourage that, and providing the necessary way for people to enter that workforce. As far as people coming into Canada trying to enter our workforce, there's a silo situation happening. Immigration, border security, and industry are not working together. When someone enters Canada, we have to make sure that their skills, if there's a gap in the skills by our standards for our certification within the PEO or whatever the province they're trying to enter, we have to find a way to close that gap as soon as they enter the country, and then have them enter the workforce immediately. We have people who are coming in, the taxi drivers and pizza delivery people are the stereotypes, but they're true. There are people with skills who could be doctors or engineers, and they're delivering pizzas and driving people around in taxis. The only way to solve that is that when someone enters the country, we have to assess the gap, standardized testing perhaps, and then have them close the gap at some accredited university and get them accredited and get them into the workforce. We can't be separating these three into different silos anymore.
Okay, I'm sure that'll prompt maybe a couple of questions, but let's go to Ray with what has been provided.
Okay, so the question is, how do you plan on investing and developing Canada's skilled workforce? And the response is, no country can escape the competitive pressures of the global economy with its growing demand for skills, knowledge, and innovation. A Liberal government will put in place a comprehensive Canadian learning strategy to ensure that Canada does not become a country of people without jobs and jobs without people. In particular, we will introduce the Canadian Learning Passport, a significant financial boost for higher education delivered directly to families. It will provide $1,000 a year over 4 years for every high school student in Canada for use for college, universities, or CEGEP. For students in low-income families, the amount will be $1,500 a year, or an extra $6,000 in total. We will implement a new Veterans Learning Benefit that provides full support for the cost of up to 4 years of college, university, or technical education for Canadian Forces veterans after completion of service. We'll significantly expand language training for new Canadians by increasing federal investment by $100 million annually within 4 years. We'll work with labor unions, employers, and other governments to expand apprenticeships and skills training opportunities for Canadian workers. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That actually gets us through the formal questions, and we'll go to the floor for a question.
Okay, I know we only have 10 minutes left. First, a comment. Jean-Luc, that was a very good answer. Keep up the good work.
Oh, which answer was that?
Your answer to this question. Second, one of my best friends is an immigrant. She's from Algiers, skilled professional, and she's one of the few first-generation immigrants who is working in her field. She has a master's from the University of Paris. She was, top of her class in Algiers, then got a master's in the University of Paris. When she was in Montreal at Université de Montréal looking for placements and job experiences and that, somebody assessed her, one of the people there assessed her as being equivalent to second-year undergraduate language studies, even though she had a master's from the University of Paris, world-renowned institution. One thing led to another, and she opened up the discussion about the sacrificial generation and how we don't want immigrant PhDs and engineers and skilled professionals doing that work here. We want them to come and make babies, and their children will be skilled professionals working here. The first generation is the sacrificial generation, which will then practice their professions vicariously through their children, who they will push to the top of their class and pay for their university, and then we will have the benefit of them. It is rather shameful that Canada has done this. Is investing in developing Canada's skilled workforce? Well, it works beautifully in that the second generation are doctors, lawyers, and engineers. Yay, good for us. We've invested in developed Canada's skilled workforce. But look what we've done to the first generation that are driving taxis and delivering pizzas, as was said. What's your comments about that? I mean, personally, I think that is to our shame.
Okay, well, there's a question. Again, it'd be great if we had a bunch of people up front to answer that, but we'll be sure to send this around to all the parties as well to get their answers going forward. Anyway, Jean-Luc, you have the opportunity.
Sure. I think any decent human being would hear that story and think that there was something very, very wrong that happened there. I think someone from all the parties would recognize that. I don't buy into the first generation as the sacrificial generation. I mean, of course, we recognize that someone coming into a new country and perhaps a new culture, perhaps even a new language, God help them, will be facing challenges unlike those of us who spend our entire lives growing up here will face. They will have challenges, but we don't need to add to it. We don't need to exacerbate it any further. These are very driven individuals to move to another country to find a profession, and we need to find a way to integrate them into our economy, into our job force. I throw out the idea of standardized testing because I don't think it's realistic to say, oh, University of Paris, that's second-year language studies or whatever formula they use to determine this. I think a form of standardized testing for professions would really help integrate these people. And perhaps this is a task that the professional engineering organizations can start developing. From what I understand, you guys have standard tests for even reaching accreditation. You make sure that you are able and capable of doing your work. I think it would be a huge benefit to immigration in this country if you could say, here's a standardized test to determine the strength of someone coming in from overseas and how they and whether or not they are capable to perform work here in Canada.
We have 2 more questions. We have about 4 minutes left. Just so people do know that engineers in training, there's formal programs. So actually engineers coming into Ontario, their credentials are recognized. I would, just not wanting to take on the PEO voice here, but I'm an engineer too. But I do know PEO is certainly probably benchmark in terms of recognizing the credentials of people coming here. OSPI is running training programs around language and things to help people get here. Comes back to the question of where are the jobs, how are we doing something to put these engineers into gainful employment? And we're not going to be able to answer that right now, but I think, the engineering community would really like the federal government to be touching on that one, because this is, in fact, for a portion federal matters. So
I'd like to add a comment, if I can, on this. First of all, I agree with you that the first generation is not a sacrificial generation. In fact, they have skills and abilities and knowledge, which Canadians need in terms of addressing foreign markets. They understand the culture. They know the people. They know the institutions. They can help Canadian companies in terms of penetrate some of these foreign markets that it takes it would take a lot longer for anybody not coming from those countries to master. I think we're, in that sense, I think there's a lost opportunity that we don't recognize that they have something that we don't have.
So let's keep that as the thought. Great thought. Let's go to the center. We're going to have to be like 30-second question, quick answer, just to get through 3, and we'll wrap up. Please go ahead.
My name is George Shagji. I'm with D&D, engineer, and I'm also on the executive for the NR group, the engineering group with Tim Kirkby and the rest. Just very, very quickly, one general question and few others, if I can make it quickly. I appreciate you being here and trying to answer. Although the Liberal is not here, but you have a representative, you have somebody. I'm assuming that you have invited also the other parties, especially the Conservative. Why they are not here? Are they not interested, or they ignoring this, or what is it? Quickly, please. Or I'll put all my questions and then you can answer at your leisure. I heard from the Liberal response something about you are trying to look forward to give 4-year training to those military people or so after completing their service. Do I understand this correct?
Yes.
Normally, when this is done, when they finish service, they are retiring, whether 25 years, 30, 35, or 40 years.
5 years.
Investing 4 years to spend in training, how much the federal government will gain out of this? I'm not sure. Maybe you need to revise this or look at it carefully. Maybe you need to spend this on junior or newcomers, new engineers or younger engineers for the future. Now, we heard a few things going on forth, and I appreciate there is no much problem considering the certification and professionalism with